All right, it is Greg Kimball with the Final Percent Podcast. And today I just want to talk a little bit about rejiggering, reconnoitering, if that's a word. Just as you reflect, and I think we touched on this in my first podcast this year, is the reflection of yourself. If you look at who you have become, that is a reflection of everything that you have done. And I think that if we can move through life recognizing and responding to our reflection, because again, this reflects what you've done, who you've become, the thoughts that you have. And I have spent so much time in reflection because, I'm a new dad, and it's just interesting what happens when you have kids. Like I said in one of my previous podcasts, I feel like me having my kids sped me up in all of the right areas and as well slowed me down in all of the right areas. And so I have a much more purposeful, intentional outlook on life and reflecting on some of the decisions that I would make, whether this was a decision with the people that I would spend my time with, whether it was a decision on whether or not I would have the same conversation with the same person for years on end. The answer is no. Now, I need to move forward by recognizing where I have spent a lot of time spinning my wheels. And so as I reflect on who I have become, I am uh, happy for the most part. Do I have regrets? No. I think that all the experience that you've gone through, I think, is important to uh, accept, so that you know that hey, that's who helped you build you. But the thing is I am no longer going to allow certain behavioral patterns to become my identity so that I can change the trajectory of what's going to happen. And so when we say we are going to be very intentional on where we spend our attention, because if your attention is on you're overweight, your attention is on the negativity, your attention is on all of these things that are negative, from whether it's the news, from a person, from yourself, your own self-talk, it doesn't matter. Tony Robbins is very famous for saying, replace all of your negativity with appreciation, your criticism with appreciation. It is absolutely impossible to have a bad life if you spend as much of it as possible in appreciation. So are things working out the way that you want them to? Probably not. Or maybe they're exceeding your expectations. So right now they are. But you have this blueprint running in your brain of how you expect things to go. And when you exceed your expectation, you feel great. When you don't hit your expectation or the blueprint that you have laid out for yourself, you feel defeated. So if we can replace expectation with appreciation, again, this is from Tony Robbins, it is going to change your entire life. And often when I'm coaching people, I will talk to people and they'll say, I just wish I was further along. I just thought I would be further along. I can't believe this is where I'm at. And at the end of the day, they're just focused on everything they're not. So of course they're going to be sad. And I think everybody's gotten into that. If people say, I've never done that, they're probably lying, or they should maybe go be a monk or something. But everyone wants, they get into the land of more or enough. Am I good enough? Have I done enough? Should I be doing more? Should I have more? And then when you have more, should you have less? Then you feel guilty because someone else in your family doesn't have as much as you do. And you start to reflect on these things, and it changes. Your past starts changing your future into your past. Why? Because you are focusing on it. It's where all your attention is. So you repeat those patterns. And so this is why I started saying I think people need longer goals, not bigger goals. Longer goals, not bigger goals. And that's important because consistency is king. Consistency is going to be the great differentiator. It is going to be the game changer. And if you can stay consistent in your thoughts, consistent in your action, consistent in your learning, consistent in your belief, you are going to consistently get better. But we spend so much time in that land of how. And when I started doing that at the beginning of the year, I reflected, okay, what was the beginning of each of my years? And so a good way to kind of look into this is go back into your um, camera roll, especially if you have an iPhone. I'm not 100% sure on how the Google one works, but if you're on an iPhone, you can look at, you know, your New Year's Eve celebrations, as long as you've had an iPhone, you just keep scrolling back. And it's interesting what starts to happen is because you get taken to another place, another time, and you remember your hopes, you remember your dreams. Maybe you drink so much that you don't necessarily remember the night. But everyone sets out with this intention to conquer the year, and usually they can't even conquer the week. And as I was reflecting on, okay, what were my big goals? And last year I had this goal called the first 100 days because we were coming out of the election, and they talk about the first 100 days in office. And I said, okay, what would my first 100 days look like if I was the president of my own life, which I think everybody is? And I built a 100-day calendar, and unfortunately I got to like 84. And I did not go the final percent on that calendar. I did not make it. But I can tell you that setting the intention for those first 84 days was absolutely fantastic. I played more guitar than I ever had. I made some beats. One of the things that came out of that I invite everybody to do, because remember, your relationships are going to change your life, hopefully for the better, but everything is born out of a relationship. And I had a thing called RKNM, and that was once a day I had to try to rekindle a relationship, and that's the RK. N was a new relationship. Reach out to somebody new. Just say, hey, maybe you're on LinkedIn, maybe you're on Instagram, maybe you're on Facebook, or God forbid, you're in the real world and you meet somebody and you have a conversation. And then M stands for maintenance. Maintenance is, you got to go tell your mom that you love her, your dad that you love him, your spouse. Run maintenance on all those important relationships. And I still do that to this day. It's one of the best principles that I think I've ever implemented in my life. But again, we're going back to reflection. And I dare everybody, go look in the mirror. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, do you know the person who's looking back at you? Or do you have this mental image of someone that you're chasing, someone that you're trying to be? Or remember that saying, I am not who I think I am not who you think I am who I think you think I am. We are all trying to be someone that we think someone thinks we are. So therefore, the relationship with ourself becomes broken. And when you look at that reflection is reflecting all of your decisions. That's why sometimes it gets uncomfortable looking at yourself. That reflection is who you are, and that's a good thing. Own that and just make different decisions. Remember, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. And if you look at in the mirror, it's time to make some different decisions. Be intentional with your time. One of the biggest things that I've been doing at the beginning of this year was cutting things off, cutting people off, cutting actions out. I will no longer have a time suck. So if, I recently had a project where I was supposed to be working on it for 12 hours a month, and we ran an audit on my time, and it took from conversations, meetings about more meetings, and then the actual time, and then things that we would do behind the scenes. It was about 51 hours of work. Well, here's the thing. If you're getting paid for 12, It's okay to go a little bit above and beyond, but if you're doing more than triple the work, cut them out of your life. Cut that project out of your life. If you're having the same conversations with the same friends, you've got to adjust the relationship with that friend. Remember, you cannot be a good coach by getting on the field. So you have to let them play their own game. And if you're still needing to have that same conversation, there's a pattern interrupt that is important, not just for them, but for you as well, because you're trying to play hero instead of coach. And so reflect on your relationship with other people, reflect on yourself, but more important, go look at your reflection and ask yourself, do you know who is looking back at you? Are you proud of that person? Do you believe in that person? Do you have faith in that person? And the answer may not be immediately clear, and the answer may surprise you. But reflection is going to be a huge theme for things that I'm teaching on, because people are so consumed with the future and they're so consumed with what's going on, they don't take just real time to reflect. Hey, is what I'm doing working? Am I proud of who I'm becoming? Is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Is this important to me? If I was doing this next New Year's, would I be happy with myself? Am I in the same place that I was a year ago? Reflect on that and adjust accordingly. It's called recalibration. When you reflect, you can recalibrate, and then you can fire. All right, you can or aim and fire. Sharon Lecter, a good friend of mine, has an incredible speech on this very topic of the recalibration, and it's incredibly important. But most people, because remember, entrepreneurship has become sexy, and everything needs to be easy. We're scared to be vulnerable. We're scared to say, hey, I'm struggling. We're scared to say, hey, I need some help. We're scared to get off of our own island. And I invite everybody to reflect on their lives and start a conversation with someone. And if you don't have anyone to have a conversation with, start a conversation with me. If you go at Greg Kimball on Instagram, shoot me a DM. Let's just have a conversation back and forth. No, nobody runs that account for me. I go back and forth with people all the time because I really care about, the human condition when it comes to their relationship with themselves. And I think it's important to remember that all suffering it comes from the way that you're talking to yourself, the way that you believe in yourself, the way that you take action and then maybe beat yourself up because of inaction. So reflect. Everyone's reflection is different, guys. And no one's reflection is wrong, to be very clear. It's going to make you confront some things, which is good, but your reflection is exactly what it's supposed to be. You are exactly who you need to be. And to be very clear, you are not broken. No one is here to fix you. I'm not here to fix anybody. I am here to raise awareness, help you gain insight. And from me coaching and me taking my own personal growth journey, I'm just raising awareness on things that have helped me so that you can become a deeper version of you. How about that? Instead of a better version, I want you to know you at a deep level. Look at that reflection. Know that that person is worth it. They're worth the work, and they were meant to have an extraordinary exponential life. This is Greg Kimball with The Final Percent.